Okay, so I'm going to do the first part of enemy UFOs, and that's where we're going to add the enemies. So, first thing we need to do here is we need to restore our game. We have to go back to the previous exercise, adding a particle stream, and there's some things we're going to go get. Like, for instance, the link for our ship. Copy that, bring that over here, and slide it over there. Got that link, paste the new link in, and so immediately, it's goodbye Bozo the Clown. Second thing we're going to do here, going to go grab our colors. So the colors we use in our game, grab them all the way down to the particle color. And then take them back here. And so you notice here there's no particle color, but that's okay. Go get that particle color. It better be there. You're going to need it. Take out that extra space. Unnecessary. So we get our colors in, and it's beginning to look a lot like my game. But my game is not called UFO Run. I'll go back over here. Let's see. I changed the name of my game. I guess before I called it Fire because I had a fire truck, but the name of my game is not going to be UFO Run. This one is called Flaming Skulls. All right, and because Flaming Skulls is so long, I'm going to drop my large font down to 40, and there it is. It fits on the screen. My Flaming Skulls. So my name, and then your lose text. If you have a lose message over here in adding a particle stream, you have to scroll down to the lose function. If you have had a custom lose message, and it's somewhere down here, there it is, the lose function. There's my custom lose message. So I'm going to go copy my custom lose message. But now in enemy UFOs, the lose message is now right up here with the text objects with our title and our 3 instructions. Here I can take that and I can paste. Boom. There's my custom lose message. And so now when I die, there's my custom lose message on the screen. All right, so now we're set up. We're set up to begin to do the game. There is one last thing we're going to do here. I'm going to copy my particle color that I had set up, and I'm going to scroll all the way to where we add the particles and take out the hexadecimal code and the double quotation marks. Just have the empty set of parentheses and paste the variable particle color right there. Notice at the moment my particles are kind of reddish, but my actual particle color that I had set was more of a dark navy blue. And so then there's one other thing too. I notice here, my particles, they're not emitting, they're not spawning in the correct spot. I wanted them to spawn right from the very end of the flame on the skull. And the variable that handled that was called, it had to do with the particle buffer. So I'm going to set my particle buffer down to like 9. I think 9. Let me see how that looks. Go. And let me crash into something. Let me crash into something where I can see what's going on. All right. Yeah. It's the particles are spawning in a good spot. You might have to adjust your particle buffer in order to get your particles to spawn in the correct location. I think that with that, we should have the game ready to go here now for us to add our enemy vehicles. So I'm just going to refer to my fifth block's vehicles because it's the document that happens to be handy at the moment. And we're going to change some things here right off the bat. Obstacle. The word obstacle is gone. We're going to be using enemy ship. And our enemy ship is going to be 50 pixels wide. And then I'm going to copy enemy ship. Control C. And then here on obstacle height, I'm going to change that into enemy ship height. And our enemy ship is not going to be 100 pixels high. It is 25 pixels high. So enemy ship height. And then I'm going to highlight obstacle, just the word obstacle, and paste enemy ship, and this turns that into num enemy ships. So we got to get those three variables set up. With those three variables set up, we have to slide down here a little bit, and there are a few more variables we're going to need. Goodbye obstacle. We're going to need a variable that's called enemy ship array. And Mr. Booth had that caps lock key on, so I played myself. Enemy ship array, and that is going to be equal to a set of square brackets. This is going to create the enemy ship array. It's where we're going to store our enemy ships. Then, in your class, you'd go to Google Classroom and you'd get your hands on the graphics document. Here in fifth block, you can see that it's linked. Here in the instructions, it's linked right here for fifth block. Each class, your enemy UFOs assignments, got a link to your class's artwork. And I'm going to go ahead and copy some of these. So let's see. I'll grab evil. Oh, hold on a second. I need some code first. I prepared something. These three lines down at the bottom. Go copy them, please. Bring them back to enemy UFOs. Select like three lines and paste them. This is going to be your setup for your enemy ship 1, 2, and 3. You're going to be pasting a hyperlink in between the double quotes in each of these. Try not to break this. So I'm going to come over here. Let me grab some different ones this time. Devil Pac-Man. Copy the link. Come back here and got the mouse. It's inserted right there in between the double quotes. Control V. Pasted. I just pasted that link in there. The next link will go right there. Let me go find one. Which ship do I want to use? Bad Bug Guy. I think I used Bad Bug Guy. We'll use a teal car. Copy that link. Paste it. And enemy ship 3. I think I'll use Roberto's. Copy his link. And I'll paste that. That sets up the image links for the three enemy ships that I'm going to include in my game. And the last variable we're going to need is called enemy ship offset, which for right now we're just going to set it up equal to 0, and it will come into play later when we increase our number of enemy ships to like 9. So for right now, when you see it in the code, you might think, what use is this? Well, it'll become useful when we have more than 3 ships that we have to manage. So now we got these variables all set up. In the meantime, you might not have realized it, but we broke our code. We've got an error now. That's because we're looking for something called obstacle width and add obstacles, and that stuff doesn't exist anymore. We changed the names of those. So down here where it says add obstacles, if you do not have the Monaco editor set, if your editor is Ace editor, switch to Monaco editor so that you can get it and be able to take advantage of what I'm going to take advantage of right now. I'm going to highlight the word obstacles and just take that out. Notice how it just says the word add right there. And what I happen to want is right here. It's add enemy ships. I'm just going to click it. I'm going to let it type it for me. I want this function called add enemy ships. And we're going to get a new error now because now something about move obstacles. Well, no problem. See, instead of adding obstacles, now we're going to add enemy ships. New function. Down in the game loop, that's where we had a function called move obstacles. So again, I'm going to delete the word obstacle. And immediately, there's lots of choices. And I don't see the one I'm looking for. So I see move particles, move terrain. But let's see. Let me type the word E. N. Oh, there it is. Move enemy ships. That's what I want. And I'm going to let the Monaco editor type it for me. This is how the professionals write computer code. They use these editors that have predictive assistance, and it saves them a lot of time, and they make fewer syntax errors. Now everything's going to be back to running again. I can fly. Obstacles gone, though, because we took out the obstacle stuff. And as long as the obstacle's gone, do me a favor. Please go down here and delete add obstacles. Highlight the whole function. Start right there at the beginning of the function, go to the end of the function, and delete the add obstacles function. And then try not to break any of this stuff. Go down to the move obstacles function. Click your mouse right at the beginning of the comment. Press your shift key, and at the end of move obstacles, click so you can select all of move obstacles. Delete that too. Don't need it anymore. Goodbye, move obstacles, but here's the stuff we need. See? Add enemy ships, move enemy ships. Hope you didn't break any of that. Lastly, we can get rid of set obstacle position. This function also, get rid of it. Goodbye, set obstacle position. All right. Add enemy ships. We're going to use a for loop, and that for loop is going to start at 0, and it's going to go up to num enemy ships. I love that. I type the letter N. The list pops out, num enemy ships. That's what I want it to be right there. Now we're going to have to type this stuff, and this comment actually should have been a random Y position. We're going to generate a random Y position. We're also going to generate an X position. Var X position is equal to, and let me make sure that I refer to my notes. So far I've been doing this all from my brain, but I want to refer to my notes. We're going to go with the screen width plus screen width divided by 3. What that's going to give me here is, well, I forgot something important too. That's why I refer to my notes. I times screen width divided by 3. So we're going to have our screen width, which is the screen's 400 pixels wide. So this X position that we're setting up here to begin with, when I equals 0, it's going to be 0 times, well, 400 divided by 3, 133.3. But that's times 0, so 0 plus the screen width. So when I equals 0, the X position for the 0th enemy ship is going to be right at the screen width. Its top left corner will be right off screen. I mean, just right off screen. But when I equals 1 and we make, the second enemy ship, then we're going to be having 1 times 1/3 of the screen. So we're going to end up setting an X position that is 1 and 1/3 of the screen width. So I think I can even kind of demonstrate this because I can pull this so far over here like this. Here's our game screen. When these enemies spawn, the first enemy is going to spawn right up against the edge of the screen. The second enemy is going to spawn right about where my mouse is right now, about 1 and 1/3 of the width of the screen. That's where the second enemy will spawn. Its Y position vertically is going to be random. We're going to make that random. But the 0th enemy will be positioned at the edge of the screen. The enemy that's in the I equals 1 location is going to be about at that position. And then when I equals 2, that enemy will be placed about 2/3 of the way over from the width of the screen, about right out there. And that's built into the way that this calculation's done here, involving I by multiplying it by 1/3 of the screen width. The other variable we're going to make here is called random Y, and that is equal to randomizer dot next integer, and we're going to be going with the max terrain height plus 10 That's going to be the smallest possible value for the randomizer. The randomizer is going to generate an integer. The smallest value will be the maximum terrain height, which is 40 plus 10. So basically, the smallest possible random number we're going to make is going to be 50. The largest possible random number, that's going to involve the, there it is, screen height. That's going to involve the screen height. But from the screen height, we're going to need to subtract some stuff. So I'm going to put subtraction in a parenthesis right here. And I'm going to go grab max terrain height plus 10, paste it, plus the enemy ship height. And then I'm going to close that parenthesis. Now, that parenthesis closes this parenthesis right over here. Notice that when we did the next integer, when we did the randomizer.nextInt, there was an opening parenthesis right here. We're going to need a matching parenthesis over here so that at the end of this line of code before the terminator, there should be two parentheses. And that'll position our, so that we're going to go to the screen height, which is 480, but we're going to subtract 40 plus 10. Plus, we also need to subtract the height of the ship because the ship is placed by the position of its top left corner. So yeah, that's a big line of code. And we're going to be recycling that line of code and using it. Now, loading our individual ships, we're again going to use the counting variable I. The counting variable I. So we're going to be looking first when I is equal to 0. And then next we're going to look when I is equal to 1. And in the third case we're going to look is I equal to 2. Because the way this for loop is going to execute, it's going to go through 3 times. When I equals 0, when I equals 1, and when I equals 2. And we need to load individual ships here. So in this case, we're going to have var enemy ship is equal to, and the first one will be enemy ship 1. That's in the case I is equal to 0. The second time through the loop, when I equals 1, I want to set the enemy ship to enemy ship 2. And in the third case, when I equals 2, I want to set the enemy ship to enemy ship 3. That way, for each pass through the for loop, when I equals 0, I get a specific ship. When I is 1, I get a specific ship. And when I is 2, I get a specific ship. Remember these links that we got? These enemy ship 1, 2, and 3? Those links that we got from this page? We're linking up those ships right now. They're getting linked up. That's the wrong exercise. There we are. All right. So the last thing we have to do here is we have to set some parameters. We got to set the size, the position. We got to label our enemy ship, and then we got to load it into the array. So oops. There's what I want right there, enemy ship. Dot set size. And we're going to set the size to enemy ship width, comma, by enemy ship height. And next, we're going to set the enemy ship's set position. There we go. Set its position. And the position we're going to set it to will be, we had them right up here, X position, comma, random Y. That's going to set its position. Next, we're going to Give it the label is enemy ship. You'll have to type that out. And we're going to set that, hey, that's kind of nice, to true. Set that to true. So this is going to be labeling it is enemy ship. It's going to be used in collision checking. It's very important in using collision checking. We'll get to that in the making these things move lesson. Next, we need to put this enemy ship into the enemy ship array. So there it is, enemy ship array. And we're going to put it in the ith position. Again, we're using that variable I in the for loop. This for loop is that variable I is so important. We're using it to position our ship. We're using it to decide which ship to stick into the array. We're using it to put the ship into the array. That I variable, very important. And this will be the enemy ship. Putting that into the enemy ship array. So that's going to take this ship that we set the size, position, label, puts it in the array. And we want to get this thing on the screen. So we have to add it. And with that, let's see if I pulled this off. Yes, well, apparently they are there. We can't see them, but there is something we can do to make them show up. I learned this on accident. See that plus symbol on line 253, X position? Change that plus symbol to an equal symbol, and now run it. And there they all are. They're all right there. And if I press the G key, everything still works, but boy, I broke the terrains. And that's kind of crazy that just an equal symbol, and I can still crash into the terrains. But that equal symbol, and I did it on accident, and that's why this recording is being made, because I got to replace that. But now, I know they're there. They are there, and we've seen it. So get that back to a plus symbol, and we're done with this video, and I'll see you in the next video.